It seems like a lot of these migrants are obsessed with schoolgirls. How can anyone think that one of those hotels should be next to a school? Women flashed in Epping, harassed, followed.
12 months in jail for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl.
We've seen so many sex crimes and violent crimes, terrorist atrocities. It's a fact. We've imported a terrible problem. They're rolling their eyes. They're pulling silly faces at each other. How are these people running our country? Every label I'm getting at the minute. Racist, fascist, Nazi. The racism that normally comes is from the left. It is going to be between Labour and Reform. Who are you going to choose? We've got 1.3 million foreign born on universal credit. Cost this country 12 billion. What could people like us do if there was an uprising of extremists that then managed to get guns in this country?
There are schools in the UK where the children are being taught to pretend to be dead under their desk in case it gets stormed by Islamic terrorists. I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Gold Seal. I use their products every single day, and now I finally get to work with them. I use their products for anti-inflammatory, reduced anxiety, better sleep, and mental clarity. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description, along with a 10% discount code for you to take advantage of. Go and have a look at their website, see if there's anything in there for you. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and good health. Adam.
Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you again, mate. We've done a few of these. Well, it was a year ago when we done the first one here. Since then, you've interviewed me a few times, which has been nice. You've become more active, more outspoken. You're completely polarised on GB News now. I would say you were one of their panel's favourites, certainly from the British public. But in the space of a year, I mean, you made some stark predictions as to where Labour were going to take the company. I mean, we couldn't have predicted just how bad it was going to be. So you was bang on the money and some. But in the space of a year, you've gone from what I think most would consider a fair centralist, but the left have rebranded you a far-right racist, which is just insane because I don't think you could be any more fair. Even when you posted a picture up with you and your black friend, even that wasn't good enough. Even your black friend took umbrage to people calling you racist. It was insane. So I want to cover so many things. But we'll start with the most recent thing, because only yesterday you was in Parliament. There was a knife crime debate. 𝐸𝐮𝐬𝐻𝐿 was there.
Yeah.
And a Labour MP got ejected from that debate. That doesn't happen often. So
no.
Roll with that. What happened yesterday?
Do you know what? So I've got to thank 𝐸𝐮𝐬𝐻𝐿 because me and Norman Brennan, former police officer, had a knife crime petition in the summer and we didn't get it to 100,000. I was shocked, but we just didn't get to 100,000. And I asked Lee for help. He went, I'm not going to help on this. I'm actually going to debate this in Parliament. Well, it went away. I never thought anything of it. And he let me know a couple of weeks ago. He went, I've got that debate in Parliament. I want you and Norman to come up. So we sat in the gallery and watching them all debate, it's unbelievable how childish and how arrogant some of these MPs are. And especially from the Labour benches and the Lib Dem one. So 𝐸𝐻𝐿 was chucked out. He gave a bit of lip to Esther McVey, who was chairing the debate. And every time a Reform MP was saying something about knife crime, stats, or saying something about Sadiq Khan, how he's letting down Londoners with knife crime and gang culture, they're rolling their eyes, they're pulling silly faces at each other. And I was just sat there thinking, these people are elected to represent us. No, we didn't vote a Lib Dem or a Labour in, but they are representing their areas, their constituencies. And they're acting like kids. And mate, he was so rude, this 𝐸𝐻𝐿. He was asked to leave.
Do you remember what he said?
No, I don't. But he was questioning what 𝐸𝐮𝐬𝐻𝐿 and the Reform lot were saying about knife crime. He was questioning their stats. And he kept trying to interrupt. And the chairwoman, Esther McVey, who's very good, by the way, said to him, no, you can't speak yet. Because the speaker who's speaking at the time can give way.
Right.
And Lee went, can I just get my points out? And he kept interrupting. And Esther McVey said, like, stop. And he went, I'll stop when I want, or something like that, to those words. And she went, well, you can leave. And like, I looked at Norman as if to say, fair play, she was strong. And he just stormed off. But that is the calibre of some of the people in our Parliament. And then the Lib Dem guy, Luke Taylor, believe his name was. Every time people were talking and he didn't agree with what they were saying, the stats, or they basically think that knife crime can be stopped with youth clubs and the odd chat with kids. It can't. And he was pulling faces and like making stupid noises. And I just thought, how are these people running our country? It's scary. I come away from there a little bit depressed. One thing I will say is the Reform lot, they were there. There was 4 of them. There was Richard Tice, Sarah Pochin, Lee Anderson and Danny Kruger, who's just come from the Conservatives. He's quite hard line, actually. And they was professional. They had all their stats. They was quite hard on the knife crime. And I come away impressed with that. At least they look competent.
Yeah, what blows my mind is there's a knife crime petition. It's kind of non-debatable. It's like, what on earth is there to debate? We all want murder to reduce. We all want young kids to like live a prosperous life and grow out of that phase they're in, their gang culture, and become great human beings. It's sort of a no-brainer. There's the 100,000 signatures. Get knives off the street. Come down with an iron fist rather than kid gloves. Sort of make less excuses for knife crime. Don't pretend it's not happening. I mean, you and me have both been stabbed, so we know that we're actually lucky to be here today because it was multiple times. So I sort of wake up and I'm grateful for every single day. But what an obnoxious pillock to be contesting, such a commendable task to end, not just reduce, but like knife crime.
Because they want to do it their way, Liam. They think that youth clubs and, speaking to youngsters is going to solve the problem, where that is part of a big picture. You need a deterrent. So what we was trying to do was 5-year mandatory sentences. You get caught with one of these big knives, you're going away for 5 years. No liberal judge can overturn that because we've seen recently, we've had a fella that tried to attack the guy burning the Quran. He was waving a big kitchen knife at him and he was swinging at him and he got a suspended sentence. Last year, there was a supermarket attacker in North London. It was a Jewish supermarket, swinging a knife at staff there, saying hateful things. He got a suspended sentence. Some of the kids we're seeing on the streets, the machetes are this big, right? It's not like when we was growing up, pocket knives and that. These are like swords, and they're getting suspended sentences.
Well, they're purposely built for murder.
Yeah. So how are you not getting put in prison for that? How have we got to a point in 2025 where you can put me or you away for a tweet, but you won't put someone away for carrying a murderous weapon
and swinging it at another human
being? But the
being.
judges, what are the judges thinking? Right? Because judges, if you're caught twice with a knife, they're meant to give you a mandatory 6-month sentence minimum, I think. But they're not doing that. So this is why I'm sort of on reform when they become government is mandatory 5 years. If me or you choose to take out a knife in the street, we get caught, we know it don't matter what judge we get, what court we go to, we're going away for 5 years. That's a deterrent.
You have dealings with Reform MPs. I would love a Reform MP or a representative to come on because I've had a lot of representatives and political figures from all the other right-wing splinter groups, should we call them, and Reform needs to build a bridge between them and the Patriots and remind them that you're not forgotten about. Lee Anderson, I think, would be my number one choice. I think he's more down to earth. I think Richard Tice, we would struggle to find common ground, but Lee Anderson seems like I could have a good chat with him. We could both be brutally honest about everything. Yeah. But speaking to those guys, because obviously most of Britain are clinging on to reform to be the answer. Have they said how they would reduce, not just knife crime, but the importation of heroin, for example, sex trafficking, industrial scale rape, stop the boats? Like, have they got in their mandate like a plan to reduce crime overall?
Yeah.
We know 𝐸𝐵𝐿 Khan's got no interest in reducing it in
want to
London.
be tough on crime. I speak to Lee Anderson a lot because obviously I work with him at GB News and he films at the pub, his show. So we have a good chat. They want to be hard on crime. They listen. Well, he listens to what I say a lot of the time when I say this is a problem. But look, their main thing is they're the only party that is going to get us out of the 𝐸𝐶HR. We've seen numerous instances over the last few weeks and months where we cannot deport, an Egyptian migrant because it would break his human rights, or he might be in trouble if he goes back to Iran or whatever. We've had cases where we can't deport them because under the 𝐸𝐶HR, their kid's not going to get the chicken nuggets that they're used to in this country. People laugh and think, no, he's lying. I'm not lying. All these excuses are coming up and the judges are ruling in the favour of the migrant. So Reform are the only ones that are really committing to leave the 𝐸𝐶HR. 𝐃𝐨𝐬𝐵𝐸 said that she would, but there's no way the Conservative Party as a whole are going to allow that and are going to vote through their own party to leave the 𝐸𝐶HR. They've been telling us for the last 10 years they'd reduce immigration, the Conservatives. I voted for them. You know, not 2019, I think was the last time I voted for them. All the promises that they've made, they did the opposite. So how can we trust the Conservatives? They've got a few MPs like Robert Jenrick that I like, Chris Philp. They're saying the right things. Oh, yeah, we've got to leave the 𝐸𝐶HR. That's great. But your party won't let you. So why would I risk voting for that party again that has allowed immigration to blow up in our faces?
Well, they betrayed us and now they're sort of shutting the gate once the horse has now bolted.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I interviewed Robert Jenrick outside the Epping Hotel and it was a technical error and we only got the last 14 seconds of a 10-minute interview. And I did say to him, do you think it's too little too late? Like, retrospectively, do you wish that you'd done this sooner? Because really, you handed number 10 to Starmer. Because of your incompetence and lies and betrayal, you gifted Keir Starmer that seat in number 10 and now we're all paying the price.
Yeah. See, Robert Jenrick, there are people that question his newfound right-wingness. But I've spoke to people within politics that say, no, it's genuine. He's realised that during his time at the Conservatives, they've let the country down. He's had like an epiphany where he said, we've done this and I was part of that, you know, and he really is on our wavelength. But you can't just have a handful of good MPs and think that that makes a new Conservative Party, you know, 2.0. We don't buy that.
No.
And, you know, the establishment, they've got the links to the establishment. They will not allow the Conservatives to do what they want to do. So, look, not everyone might trust Reform or might not be on the page at the moment. But it is my view it's going to be Reform or Labour. That's going to be your choice. A week to go at the general election in 3 or 4 years' time, that is your choice.
Yeah, you can. I mean this implicitly. You know, may a lightning bolt come down from the sky now and kill me. You could offer me £10 million cash, so I'll be okay forever. I would not vote Labour. Not in my wildest dreams, not for all the noodles in China. I absolutely loathe them. And we grew up to think, when I was at school anyway, and we're the same age, aren't we, that the lefties, they were the smart, kind, intellectual powerhouses. And then you grow up and you realise that they're the most deranged, hateful, self-loathing bunch. And they're not kind. They're self-serving. And if anyone wants to be part of a community or expand a nice, wholesome community, they don't like it. They're envious. They're very bitter people, which will then segue nicely into... So you don't just go on GB News and commentate on what's going on. I noticed that you've been doing something, probably inspired me to do it actually, to become boots on the deck. So you've gone from regular slot on the GB News, which is now doubled to twice a week. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm delighted that you're on there. The more of you, the better for me. And I'm sure a lot of the female audience will agree with that as well. But you decided to take to reporting on street activism. So you're live and direct. That can't be edited. Your eyes can't lie. The camera can't deceive you, nor can your ears. So you went from on the panel at GB News, giving your opinion, to like, actually, I'm going to get right in the eye of the storm. So then when The Guardian or the BBC print their nonsense, I can counteract that and say, well, actually, I was there. So how have you found street activism, how you've reported on it, and also we'll go into the stand up to racism lefty protesters, because I don't believe that's what they are standing up against. But in your own words, how has that experience been?
I enjoy talking to people, especially about politics and seeing what their thoughts are. And again, the mainstream media tells us everyone thinks this way. Everyone's got to think that way or that way. That's the only thing. So when you actually go up to different groups, especially groups of colour or different demographics on the street, and they don't parrot the line that the media say that they should think, it's refreshing. I love it. And I think what these parliamentarians don't realise is that a lot of the younger lot coming up, they're listening to these polls that say, oh, yeah, they're Greens and they're Labour. A lot of these youngsters coming up, 16 to 20, are talking how we're talking. They're obviously watching social media. They're not getting brainwashed by the mainstream media. And they're thinking for themselves. And it's quite refreshing to see. But when it comes to maybe, like, I went down to Epping. When I heard of the sexual assault of the young 14-year-old girl, I got told it was like a Tuesday night, I think I got told. And then I'm getting messages from different people from the area saying, oh, you know, that's happened to my daughter. The migrants are trying to get at their Snapchats and they got followed the other day. And I thought, I've got to go down to Epping. I've got to speak of this. So I set my camera up, cheap little camera and microphone outside the Bell Hotel. And I said what had gone on, what I knew. And I did know because I checked with people that used to be in the police or the council, so I knew exactly what had gone on. So I didn't want to put any misinformation out there. I was confident of my facts. Started speaking about the alleged sexual assault at the time. We know it did happen because he's been convicted. But I kept saying alleged so I wouldn't get in trouble. And that video just went everywhere, Liam. I did 2 videos outside the Bell Hotel within a few days and I had about 10 million views. And then suddenly GB News want to talk about what had happened because they'd seen my stuff. And then the mainstream media saying about this sexual assault in Epping. So, like, immediately I thought, you know, you've got to be careful what you say because it can blow up. But it blew up in the right reasons for me. We were highlighting a danger to local girls, things that me and you have been speaking about for years, an attack for.
More than a decade.
Yeah, this is coming true. This is what's happening in your community. And I was getting shared on WhatsApp groups. Like, I've had cousins of mine go, they're speaking about you in Tenerife, like on a WhatsApp group and this and that. And I'm like, wow, got to be careful with this because if you do put something bad out there or you do misinform, you've got some responsibility. But I think it is now people are looking for different voices online. And suddenly, look, my numbers on my Instagram, I've never really been big on Instagram. I've always been Twitter or now X. But I'm getting 30 million views a month on my Instagram, which is blowing my mind, which means people are they're sharing it, aren't they? Because I've got about 150,000 followers. How am I getting them amount of views? People are putting it on their WhatsApps, on their groups or their stories, and it blows my mind. But
thank God that you joined Instagram because it's so important.
I never used to get any traction on there, but it seems like the algorithms changed.
Zuckerberg would clamp down on any kind of controversial topic, what's considered controversial. But I think since Elon Musk has opened the floodgates to free speech, you've got to match him, otherwise you're going to get left behind.
But, I mean that's great for the likes of me and you. We're only saying what's happening, and when people are saying to me, "Oh, are you not worried about speaking about that?" I say, "Why would I be worried about talking about the danger to women and children? I've got 2 daughters."
And we won't be bullied into silence with fake tags, because that's what they do. Just to end the debate, they'll lie about you, and then you think, "Oh, I don't like that," and then you recoil. It's like, fuck
we're
off.
too far gone for that.
And too long in the tooth.
Yeah, and
like, your words are empty.
Every label I'm getting at the minute: racist, fascist, Nazi. You know, we go to the Epping protests, and when they used to them stand up to racism lot come in the first few, they were calling young kids Nazis. Horrible, middle-aged and elderly white liberals calling young kids Nazis that are standing there with their mum or their nan. That's just evil.
It's moronic and ironic because Hitler was a socialist, and those stand-up to racism protesters are on the side of socialism. But it's all self-projection. I've come to the realisation that the people that are really, really left, they're really, really unwell. They're not well at all. And you've probably seen, because you've attended and reported on so many protests, you've seen so many counter-protesters being ferried out by the police. You've heard the hatred that spews out of their gob. We see it on X on the daily. What do you think those counter-protesters are really... Do you think they're really there for? Do they believe in their shit?
I believe a lot of them are paid to be there. That there's something very, sinister about the Socialist Workers' Party. They've all got these ready-made banners. They come to a fortune. They're all proper on wood. They're all professionally printed, in their dozens, or if not hundreds, ready to go for whatever. Someone is organising that. There's some dark money that's funding this movement, and I believe they're paid to be there. I mean, some of the lot that you see, like, they are the weirdest people you will ever encounter. So how your average lefty... Listen, there are some very well-meaning, left-leaning people in this country that generally believe what they believe, and they believe they're doing the right thing. They've got a good heart. I think they're misdirected with a lot of it, but they actually generally want to help. Some of these are just pure evil. You know, he's got something that I want. I can't get it, so I'm just going to oppose everything that they stand for. That's how I see it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, if you went, there's 100 grand, they'd take it and you'd never see him on another protest again. They're so false and they're so fake. And it's a hatred of people that dare to try and aspire to something. The only way they can attack us is by saying that we're racist, Nazis and fascists, when you will never find... I think I found the other day, I've done about 300,000 tweets in the last 17 years, right? Which is a hell of a lot. You'll never find... I always say to them, find a racist comment.
Same for me.
And then what I try and do is I use the emoji with a clock. ... Never come back.
Yeah.
Or they try and say something that I've said about immigration. Yeah, I can go and find another one where I say white, black or brown, I don't care what colour you are. They can't find any racism from me. They never will do.
They won't with me. And the word racist has lost its flavour, which is a shame, because the likes of you and me would genuinely call out bona fide racism.
100%.
But when everyone's called a racist, it's like, well, who? Okay, so which ones are the racists and which ones aren't?
I've got several real dear friends that are black. Don't bother me. Simeon, my boxing coach, over the last 3 years, we've become very tight. If I was walking down the road and someone was racist to him, we'd both go and sort it out together, right? I've got my friend Mickey, you know, like my doorman Marcus. Yet, if I ever dare to put up a picture of them, the racism that normally comes is from the left. Like liberals calling him a bounty bar or something like that. Like, you could not make this up. People that say they're nice people calling a black man a bounty bar because he's not speaking how they think he should speak. That's racism.
100%.
I'm against this trans agenda. Yeah, we spoke about that. We won't go into it today. But if I was walking down the high road and there was a trans person getting a load of shit from a group of kids, or I would stick up for that trans person.
Yeah,
just because I don't want them in women's toilets. I don't ever want to see anyone targeted for the way they choose to live their life, the colour of their skin or their religion. I will always kick back. I did it at school. I would kick back against bullies, and I will kick back against bullies on the street as well, because we don't have to agree with certain people, the trans thing going in the toilets, but I never want to see them targeted. And I think that differs us from some on the left, because them hateful people, if they see us getting a kicking in the street, they'd be laughing and getting their phones out. They would not be trying to help.
The common denominator for people on the right is they're genuine nurturers and protectors of the weak. They sort of shield the vulnerable. They're the first to donate to every cause because they're desperate for change and they genuinely care. And they're a community. But the common denominator on the left is, I want you to answer that, because you've been in amongst so many of them now. You're on a panel with leftists. You're in the middle of leftists counter-protesting. So that's the common denominator for the right. What do you see that's the common denominator for the lunatics on the left?
For me, there's a lot of snobbery from these quite well-off liberal people on the left. They look at people like me and you. We don't talk really how they talk. And especially on GB News when I'm on there with some of them. And I get on all right with them off air. But it is, why am I on this settee with him? What has given him the right to be on here when I've done a journalist course? Or, you know, I've been around the world more and seen more. I know more than him. They just do not want to hear your point of view. And the easiest way to shut you up is to label you. And, you know, there's a guy on GB News, I won't go into it too much, but a panellist that labelled me far right twice on air.
On air?
On air.
That's dangerous.
So that's putting a target on my back.
Yeah.
And when I said, tell me something I've said that's far right, so did the host, he couldn't say anything. I'm in an R in. It's just, but once that is out there, it's out there. So now people on X go, even the people in GB News that you're on the panel with think you're far right. And it's out there. They've done it. They've done the damage.
Yeah.
You know?
And if only they knew that the actual far right
hate me.
Hate you. Hate me.
Yeah.
Because we're not right enough.
And this is the thing. I've got hatred from the extreme left and the extreme right.
Yeah.
Because I dare to have black friends. I dare, you know, I will always say I might differ from certain people we know or whatever. Anyone with religion, I'm an atheist.
Same.
Right? It's a Christian country, so we're built on that. But I would never target anyone for their religion. Right? I always say your beliefs, as long as it doesn't affect my life, you crack on. You know, and it shouldn't affect my life in any which way, and it shouldn't affect the laws of this land. Right? That's the main thing I have if religion creeps into the law of this land. But how you can call me an extremist for anything like that, I don't think I've ever said anything extreme.
No.
Apart from, I have said things on air about paedophiles that I would like to see done to paedophiles, but I think most people connect with that.
I think that's what you call justice.
Yeah.
That's not extreme, that's justice.
Yeah. There's a lot of anger and hatred for that sort of thing that's going on in this country at the moment. Kids for me are sacred.
Of course, we're here to protect that gateway. Sorry, you've got unsavoury views. Your ideology stinks as shit. You're a danger to children, and really, they're all our children, British children. Yeah. Even if we've not got any biological children of our own, or like they're all our children. The onus is on us to protect them as a community. What is in my head? Essex Police threw you under the bus. Massively. Yeah, just jog my memory on that. Right, so I had a phone call on the Wednesday, this is about a month ago, saying a homeless asylum seeker has just been removed from a local school grounds. So obviously he was trying to find out if he was anything to do with the Bell Hotel. He wasn't. He was a homeless asylum seeker. And so I'm trying to find out more about that. Then all the pictures coming in from different parents saying he's been seen outside this school and this school. So I'm like, this is a problem. We've got a man that we know nothing about going around different schools. He's walking around the area. And to go to the schools in our area, they're not just on one road. You have to go out of your way to go to all the different schools where he was. So I was like, this is a problem. Then we start hearing that on the Tuesday, so this is on the Wednesday, we've heard he's been removed from one school. He was on another school ground on the Tuesday. So for me, I'm thinking, this is bad. This story's going around like wildfire on all the WhatsApps in our area. People are wanting to keep their kids off of school. I kept my kids off of school on a Thursday until I knew more information. So someone said, you've got to get to Waltham Abbey, which is 10 minutes from me, 5 minutes. They went, they've just locked down Leverton School. Sarah was there, who was on your podcast the other day. So I get there, pull up outside. I would never record outside schools. I didn't even take my cameras or whatever. Outside the school is the head teacher and the deputy standing on the door. All the gates are locked. So I went over, I made myself known. I said, look, are you on lockdown? She went, yes. I went, why? They went, this asylum seeker was spotted 50 yards from our gate acting strangely. So now we've had 2 schools that he's been on the grounds of. I've got another 6 schools, including that one, where he's been seen by the gates. You can't tell me that's not a problem. So on the Thursday, Essex Police put out a statement basically having a dig at me because I was doing videos to say, look, this asylum seeker has been seen outside local schools, 8 in total. 2 of the schools my daughters go to. So you can imagine how worried I am as a parent. And they put out saying there was a lot of misinformation going about and people reporting on untruths. There was only 1 incident. But Essex Police know that's their comms. Yeah. I'd already spoke to police officers that said, yeah, he's been seen outside these schools. We don't know what he's doing. Then you got the lefties that are saying he's just looking for food.
outside 8 schools, all in sort of a 5-mile radius. You don't start looking for food. You go to the back of supermarkets, don't you? You don't go to school. So for me, it's real sinister. But they had helicopters up on the Thursday. It was like a manhunt. So it was like real sort of
serious
business. Okay. But Essex Police put this statement out, and it half threw me under a bus, because saying an incident to them is someone being arrested. He was arrested on the Wednesday outside a school because he was wanted in court for other crimes, which we never found out what them crimes were. But they don't class an incident as in being on a school grounds or seen near another gate. They don't class that as an incident. So by them saying one incident, I basically got labelled a liar by Essex Police, their comms. So then on the Friday, when I take my little girl into a school, we're waiting to go in, and someone said something. I was talking to one of the other dads. Someone chirped up and went, "Oh, you got that wrong, didn't you?" I went, "No, I didn't. What are you talking about?" He went, "Oh, you said it was outside these schools." I went, "You do know he was in this road, don't you?" And the dad went, "No, he wasn't. They were obviously lefties, right, this couple."
Yeah.
He went, "No, it wasn't." I went, "Yes, he was." Showed a picture of him in the road. I said, "The school knows he was in this road as well." And then the wife went, "Oh, no, he was obviously just looking for food then." Like, you couldn't make up this naivety or this stupidity.
Excuse making.
Right. You've got an asylum seeker with no car that has travelled miles to go to different schools, 8 different schools.
Well, he actually gained entry, and the police were called, and this is in the public domain. A migrant man of no fixed abode actually entered a school after attempting to enter multiple schools, and the police were called because the school was concerned about the man's welfare.
Yeah, that's online. So
is that a true story, or is that a true story?
The press release was that the school was worried about his welfare.
Wow.
Yeah, I've spoke to pupils at both the schools. You've got to remember now, people in my area are trying to direct message me. I've got this information, or get in my WhatsApp. He was seen here. My son's a pupil at that school. He was doing this. So I know more probably than even the police over them 3 days. So when I've got parents trying to say to me, "No, that didn't happen," and I can just go, "Yes, it did. That's the picture of him by that car over there," and their face is just dropping, and this is what annoys me, because there were parents from my little daughter's school that tried to badmouth me and report me to the head teacher.
Oh, dear.
Right? Because they said I was creating fear in the area. No, I didn't create fear in the area. A migrant man that was seen outside 8 schools and was on 2 schools, locked down another one, created fear. I just put the truth out there. And this is what I'm saying sometimes. The truth can be twisted
so easily
and get you targeted for that. So my thing is, would you not want me to tell you if there's someone outside your kid's school? So when I went to Leverton School on the Thursday, I really felt sorry for the head teacher, because she was there. I went, "Where's the police?" She went, "Oh, no, they haven't got enough resources to have police officers here on the gate." The school was locked down. The kids were under desks. Blackout blinds were down. Imagine how scared them kids were. And there's no police out the front.
It's important that I cap this bit off with information that I receive regularly. So when I interviewed Sarah from Epping, and also just to confirm, when you've got the lefty public saying you're creating fear, what you're doing is creating safety. Don't mix the two up. Don't get that twisted. Like, you are doing God's work at the moment, and anybody, if Adam is new to you, go and follow him on X. I want to put that in there in the middle of this interview, not at the end in case you miss it. But to cap this section off before we move to migration, illegal. Sarah from Epping, when I interviewed her, she said to me that the children are taught a game called Sleeping Tigers. So this is for my audience to listen to and take note of. So Sleeping Tigers is a game that the children think they're playing to prepare themselves for a Beslan massacre-style terror attack where radicals storm the school, take everyone hostage, and then kill children one by one. You can check that information on Google.
I've never heard that, but wow.
It's one of the most horrendous massacres I've ever read. It will reduce you to tears, because the parents were outside the school listening to their children being murdered one after the other, and the military couldn't let them in there because it was a terrorist situation. Horrendous. So because we have imported so many radicals that prescribe to the same ideology, we're now preparing for that in our schools. We should never be in that situation. So in Epping, the game was called Sleeping Tigers, for example. Now, my DMs have been flooded since that interview because other schools around the country, they're telling me the same thing, that their kids are being taught to hide under the desk if the alarms go off, pull the blinds down, pretend to be asleep. But they're calling it different names in different schools. It's probably so it doesn't catch on. Yeah. But make no bones about it. There are schools in the UK where the children are being taught to pretend to be dead under their desk in case it gets stormed by Islamic terrorists. Be mindful of that. Yeah. I don't want to scaremonger people or put the fear in God in them, but we need to know what's terrifying. What could be around the corner.
As I said, I've got 2 young children. My boy's 16 now. He's going into the big bad world. But to think of my kids being scared while they're at school upsets me. You drop your kids off at school thinking they're in the safest place, and that should be the safest place. How have we got here in 2025? We're not America where there's guns, you know, and a nutter can go and do that. And we've seen that over the years. As you say, we are importing people with different ideologies to our own. And this is what I cannot understand, how the left can kick back at people like me and you, especially me, that tries to say, look, we're importing danger. No, you're a bigot, you're a racist, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, we've seen so many sex crimes and violent crimes over the last few years that have come from people that have crossed illegally. We've seen terrorist atrocities linked to people that have been on the asylum system. How can you not actually now be awake to the fact that we have imported a problem? I think there's 40-odd thousand Islamist extremists on the terrorist watch list. Half of those were born in a foreign country. So it's a fact. We have imported a terrible problem. But for me to concentrate on, you know, the sex crimes and the violence that we're seeing emanating from these asylum hotels, how can anyone still think that that's a good idea? How can anyone think that one of those hotels should be next to a school? The Bell Hotel is literally 300 metres across a field to a school where there are 14 and 15-year-old girls, pretty girls, short skirts. We know what schools are like nowadays, and I've always been that way. You've got men from villages in Afghanistan or Pakistan haven't really even seen women uncovered, let alone blonde girls, short skirts. You know, and we know that the age thing is different in their mind. They're seeing these schoolgirls and they are literally not being able to control themselves. And that is the problem. You can't educate that because their brain is suddenly going into sex drive, overdrive with schoolgirls. I've had people direct message me and WhatsApp me from the local area that their kids, they've been harassed for their Snapchats, their WhatsApps or whatever. It seems like a lot of these migrants are obsessed with schoolgirls. And then people are surprised when there's been a sexual assault. You know, we've had women flashed in Epping, harassed, followed. It's not on. And how, when I speak about that, can someone go, oh, you bigot.
You're the bad guy.
How have we got there? How is me put with a sign? I've got a little heart sign. I go hobbycraft on a Sunday and I make a little sign up and I go to Epping. So that proves how much different I am to the organised stand up to racism lot. I go and make my own little sign.
I carried that sign for a little while.
Right, save our kids. So I put a thing up on X the other day. Bad guy with an arrow down to me, save our kids. And then you had an Antifa member with all his face balaclavaed up, holding like a flag thing that could be a weapon easy, all aggressive. And I put good guy.
Yeah.
That's where we are in this country. How can I be the bad guy for speaking out, being a worried father, and these people that are hateful, cover their faces, aggressive, how can they be the good guys?
Let's talk about the injustice very quickly as well, because so there's been a conviction
Yeah.
So the guy that sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl, he's been convicted, went to trial.
I went to the trial.
Found guilty, 12 months in jail for sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. Well, he wasn't even a guest in the country. He was an invader. Sexually assaults one of our children.
After 8 days, by the way.
After 8 days, gets a smack on the wrist. And then there's been people that were protesting against housing men like him have just been sent to prison for how long?
Over 2 years, some of them. I mean, look, let's also go into it. They've got a lot of previous convictions, a couple of these guys. But there's one guy, something Smith, no previous convictions. He got 1 year and 10 months. I think he pushed or hit out at a police shield. Now, look, you're going to get in trouble for that. I wouldn't say that justifies 1 year and 10 months when a guy has just sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl and tried to sexually assault another woman as well. Been in the country 8 days, he gets 12 months. I was sat behind the family in the courtroom, got to know them. The dad, I was looking at the dad and I was welling up because he was so angry in 1 minute and then so upset in the next. You could not imagine getting that phone call that your daughter has been sexually assaulted. And this guy gets 12 months. He's already done 2 or 3 months on remand. So he's probably going to be out in December. Yet those people that lost their heads on the protest are going to be in there for a couple of years. Our judiciary is all over the place. As I said, with a knife crime, with this, these are political sentences that these men have got. Let's not beat around the bush. They are sentences to make anyone that thinks turn up to a protest and play up, that is what you get. You can sort of see why the establishment do that, but you can't then let a sexual assaulter off with 12 months or a rapist off with just a few months. You know, you can't, nothing makes sense. There has to be a clear guideline. If you do this crime, you get that amount. You know, you turn up to a protest and want to whack a police officer, you are going to get 2 years. Fair enough. But don't give the guy that sexually assaulted a 14-year-old 12 months.
It's an insult, man.
And it's almost like it's planned to wind us all up more and draw us in to more maybe protests where people play up.
And what message does that send out to all these other randy, perverse migrants? It's kind of, for them, it makes it worth the risk. It's worth rolling the dice. Well, do you know what? If I get found guilty, I'll only get a smack on the wrist. I'm looking for refuge anyway. Well, not refuge. I'm looking for free housing. So 6 months in jail, I can live with that. It doesn't put anything in their way of preventing them from committing these crimes. So up until this point now, I'm sure that 98% of the audience will agree, I'd like to know in the comments, that you're doing God's work.
I'm not doing God's work. Look, you got to remember, I don't get money from
And you're humble.
I don't get money for my YouTube. I don't get money for my Instagram. 30 million views I've had, right, for the last few months as well in a row. So I might even have had 100 million views since the Epping thing kicked off on my Instagram. Don't get paid for that. Costs me money to go to these protests. I have to, juggle my social life to make sure that I'm available to do this. I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm not doing God's work. I'm just a worried father. You know, I can't look my 2 girls in the eye, especially if this country goes to shit in the next 5-10 years, and say, oh, Daddy just sat back. At least I can say I tried. You know, and that's what it means to me. I'm not in this for fame. I'm not in this, for the financial reward.
You ain't funded by the Jews, are you?
$7 a post?
Mental.
Jesus Christ, I'd have millions.
Just for context for people that aren't on X, if anybody pros anything that's remotely pro-Jew or in defence of the Jewish community, the people on the left will jump in the comments and accuse you of being paid, at the moment, $7,000 per post. Now, if someone can get that so wrong, what else can they get so wrong?
And it's not just being pro-Israel or defending the Jews. It's anti-Hamas. Hamas are a terrorist organisation.
That's a more accurate description,
right,
yes.
So I will call out the last few days, I've put up the picture. I won't put the video up because it's gruesome.
Outrageous.
They are executing their own. Hamas are executing Palestinians in Gaza on the street, bullet to the head, and people are cheering it on, right? But the left are not calling it out. I thought these were freedom fighters. Oh, freedom fighters that rape people and slaughter people. Oh, yeah, they're freedom fighters. No, they're not. They're terrorists. And they're now killing their own. Justify that, 𝐼𝐸𝐾𝐿.
And what was bizarre, and it's very sinister, dark, it's ugly, it's depressing. The whole time that conflict was going on over there, and by no means any expert on there, I've interviewed an IDF soldier, I've interviewed a victim of a Hamas attack, 𝐬𝐻𝐸𝐽, watched her friend get slaughtered beside her. They then plunged a knife into her chest, had her ribs popping out. She pretended to be dead. She survived that terror attack. Wow. Those Hamas terrorists that killed 𝐬𝐻𝐸's friend beside her, then tried to kill 𝐬𝐻, in this negotiation, this peace deal, the maniac that done that has been released, so he's now free. But throughout that entire conflict, Hamas removed their uniforms so they could be mistaken as civilians. As soon as there's a ceasefire, they're now back in uniform, executing their own on camera. Very, very proud of their work. I mean, how can anybody defend Hamas?
They are.
I know.
And these students, like there was a video of, I think it was an Oxford student calling for basically the death of Jews, like it's some trend to jump on.
Put the 𝐬𝐻𝐸𝐽 in the ground.
That's it.
What the?
He's been arrested now, by the way.
Good.
But how can they be so hateful like that? Look, I don't agree. You look at Gaza and it's been flattened and you think, wow, I don't agree with that from Israel. But they had to respond. That was a terrorist attack. So there's no defending Hamas, what they did on October 7th. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. I don't like what I've seen from the Israeli army in certain points. And there's a lot of Jewish people that I know, friends that go, no, they've gone over the top there. But I can understand why maybe they have. Their whole country is being threatened. So they want to try and send a strong message. But any kids dying in any war zone or any terrorist attack, I will call out, and I don't want to see that. But these lefties are jumping on the Palestine movement like it's a trend. Yeah. It's the trendy thing to do. And the weird thing is, we haven't heard a lot about sort of trans protests and things like that recently because they're all on this. Yeah. They're all the same group. They're all, you know, an amalgamation of the latest thing. You know, there's 100,000 Nigerian Christians that have been slaughtered over the last 10, 15 years. Why is there no protest for these? If these people are such nice people and want to protest for all the wrongs in the world, why are they not protesting the slaughter of Nigerian Christians? That's a genocide. Where are they?
Oh, there's just silence on the internet.
Where's Greta Thunberg? She's I don't like her one bit.
She's strange. Well,
strange.
You see,
thing.
The day this podcast gets aired is going to be in 7 days' time. So I can say this now. In 7 days' time, I'm going to personally be in Israel. I'm going to try and get to the Palestinian side.
Be careful. Wow.
I'm going to be careful. I can only be what I can be. And if it's my time, and I mean this implicitly, it's my time to go. But where I've spent the last 2 years watching hatred spew into our streets that really has got nothing to do with us. And then after that, a terror attack outside the Manchester synagogue on their holiest day of the year. It's like, I need to know more about this because everyone thinks they're an expert. And when I say to people, oh, have you been? Do you know anyone that's lived in amongst it? The answer is always no. They're armchair experts. So I want to go and see with my own eyes. So I'm going to be in Israel. And if I can get to Palestine, I will. And then I'll get a better idea. And I'm going to go there and I'm going to speak to the public. I dare say that's going to lead to people saying I'm funded by the Jews, couldn't give a monkey's fart, makes them look silly, not me. But yeah, I'm going to be there.
One thing that upsets me, there are some really good Jewish people around my area that I know, really kind, nice people. What the hell is it to do with them, what the Israel army have done in Gaza? What is it to do with them? And this is what I'm saying. A whole community is being demonised for a country they have relatives in. You don't get that. We don't demonise, you know, a terrorist attack, Islamic extremist terrorist attack. We don't go around demonising all Muslims or Muslim countries, do we? We don't do that.
We don't, but people will say that we do because it's easy to twist that.
And that is the thing. This is where we differ. And I think there's so much hatred in the world. To see it spill onto our streets is
Heartbreaking.
depressing.
It is depressing.
Because I don't see how these students can be sort of deprogrammed, because they are programmed to go that way.
Mm.
And now we're seeing it. How can you protest on the same night that two Jewish people innocent Jewish people are slaughtered on the streets of Britain?
Disgusting.
And be amongst people with signs that are so anti-Semitic and so anti-Jews. How can you do that?
So blatant as
You're
well.
not a good person. Let's just say there was an atrocity at a migrant hotel on the Thursday. Do you really think I would be protesting on Epping on the Sunday? I would have some sort of respect and know what's right and wrong. And certainly if I turned up to a protest and there was someone with a real hateful banner, I'd say, get away from me. Get off the protest. You're not welcome.
Yeah, we're not on the same team, you and me, mate. We're different.
They don't do that on the left.
No.
They don't do that.
No.
They don't call out their own.
Well, we saw that with Ricky Jones when he was talking about slitting all their throats. You had all of the left cheering him on. Not one person went, no, hang about, Ricky. That's a touch much. We don't want to slit anyone's throat. We're not promoting or inciting violence.
There was a woman in an Amnesty International, I think it was, or one of those charities, vest behind him, clapping like a stupid seal.
Yeah, like a moron.
Like a moron.
Yeah.
And there were people all round, women as well, cheering that it said slit their throats. Who's the bad guys? Again, them or us?
The hypocrisy is off the chart. Now, you used the word depressing. So down the line, I am going to come to how all this will be affecting you, because I've been around long enough to know that it will be affecting you. But I'm just going to push back on one thing you've said. I don't think I've ever disagreed with you on anything. I do think you're doing God's work. I know you're not doing it for you. You're doing it for change, which I believe is God's work. That's the only thing I'm going to disagree with you about. And I think people agree with me in the comments. But what I want to ask you now is, off the back of me and most of my audience thinking you're doing God's work, just tell me what price you have to pay. What a tax have you come under for putting good back into the community? So I think you've been threatened, didn't you?
Yeah, on X, some of the DMs and some of the message, they do it in a way that they can't get nicked for the threats, but it's an indirect threat, yeah. Normally anonymous accounts, they try and say that I've been racist. You'll never find it, as I said in the last thing, you'll never find racism. But yeah, some of the hatred, and that's because I'm getting noticed. I'm a threat.
You're making a difference.
Right. So a lot of these anonymous accounts, I had it during COVID, when I was pushing back on restrictions. I had government agencies monitoring me. I believe that's happening now. So I'm led to believe. So the pressure of all that, the threats, the time, as I said earlier, making time to go to these protests, missing out on things.
Family time.
Yeah.
Focusing on your own business, your own livelihood.
Not turning off in your mind, not wanting to miss certain news that comes out, so I can put it out there and keep people in the loop. A lot of pressure.
You've got great responsibility now because you've got a huge following, and you've always been very integral, and I'd like people to recognise that you've been true to your word and your message has never, ever changed. It's not about race. It's about ideas, culture, beliefs, responsibility and safety. I've watched your work for years before you blew up. You've been in the movement for a long time, saying the same thing. It's never changed, never shifted. The only thing that's changed is the Liberals' version of you, because it no longer suits their twisted, horrible, sick narrative. And talking of all of that combined, especially the culture, you attended the Unite the Kingdom Free Speech Festival, I like to call that, on September the 13th. So you went there as a journalist to report, like you always do these events. And I know that you go to the right and you go to the left, even if I think it's just good versus evil now.
Yeah.
But you went to the Unite the Kingdom Festival to report, and then you ended up speaking on stage. I suppose take me through that journey. How did that happen? And how did it feel?
Let me tell you. So I was going to report initially. As you said, I've been on a couple of these things as well. And when the Epping thing blew up, when the government lawyers said that the rights of asylum seekers trump the rights of locals, do you remember that?
Yep.
Come out during the court case. My phone just blew up from friends of mine that normally sit on the fence saying, we're going. That was a massive thing to come out.
Moment.
Yeah, we are second-class citizens in our own country. And I had a lot of mates saying, are you going? I went, yeah, I'm going to report. Oh, so I ended up going with my friend. And let me just paint the picture there. The trains were packed on the way up there, and I thought I was getting up there early, but obviously everyone else had the same idea. It was like, it felt like the whole country come together at the same time. We got off at Blackfriars Bridge, and it took me about 20 minutes to get out of the station. You know, I go football on a Sunday, or you know, I've been to some of the biggest football events. I've never seen so many people in my life. When they say there was 100,000 there, no chance. My conservative view is that it was maybe 700,000, right? That was what I thought from the crowds I'd seen, but it was probably more if you look at the aerial thing. It took me 2 hours to get from Blackfriars underground station to try and get to the front of the meeting point before it had even started. Never seen so many people in my life, and I've never had so many selfies in my life.
No.
Old women, old fellas, and the same thing. They kept saying, my grandkids, I'm here for my grandkids. And one thing I wanted to portray, I didn't do much filming that day because I was taking it all in,
Engrossed.
really. I was engrossed in it. And I couldn't believe how normal everyone was, right? And it, again, Trevor Phillips actually said this. There was a lot of black faces and a lot of brown faces there. And I was just taking it in. So, yeah, we get there and we start sort of marching through London. And then I start enjoying some of the music on stage. And one thing I will say is I didn't actually agree with a few of the guests on the stage, but that's life, isn't it?
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
So some of the things that were said, I said to my mate, don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Right? But it doesn't mean because I was there, that's my view. I agree with a lot what was said.
And that's a fair thing to say.
Right, and I don't see why you can't say it.
No.
Because it was a culmination of ideas and different people were there for different reasons. And so I think you come and got me. You said the Polish politician's out the back. You might want to speak to him. You tried to help me out with an interview. And I thought,
Dominic.
You know what? I better do a couple of interviews because I've brought me things with me. So I said to my mate, look, I'm going round about. I'm going to go and interview the Polish MEP, isn't he?
That's it.
So I'm there, you're all stressed, you're all out the back. And then someone went, he's calling you on stage. I went, nah, I'm not due to speak. I'm not speaking. And they went, no, he's calling you on stage. And all I can hear is, Adam, come on. I've looked round and he's calling me on stage. Well, I wanted to die because, again, I tried to say this, I'm not in this to be known. And I can be honest, I shit my pants.
This is Tommy Robinson calling you on stage.
Yeah, I shit my pants. I was like, don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. Weren't prepared for it. Didn't know what I would say. I'm like, and I didn't really have a choice. It was like, I think you're pushing me. Went on there, and I think I said on there, well, I didn't expect this. But all I wanted to get across was why I was there. My 2 daughters. The way this country's going, it's not just anti-immigration. That day for me was anti-establishment, anti-Labour government, anti-Keir Starmer. The way this country is being led and the way they are treating us as people, second-class citizens, labelling us far right for being against something that is clearly a problem. So that was another, but I got on stage and I think I said something like, I'm here for my kids. I think the powerful thing at Epping was when the ladies used to sing Save Our Kids. So I said, I kept it short. I said, I'm here for my kids, no one else. And that weren't a dig at Tommy or any organisers or anything there because I was there for my kids. That was it, right? And I wanted people to know that because a lot of the old people that I'd spoke to were there for their grandkids. So I started to Save Our Kids, and then to hear hundreds of thousands of people like chant that.
Powerful, wasn't it?
Very powerful.
And on the day it was reported that there was around 3 million people. Since then we've gone back, obviously looked at it closer, looked at the aerial view, done AI checks and all sorts, and took into consideration the people that couldn't get through because the train lines were blocked. Oh, it was well in excess of 1 million people. So you're standing there talking to 1 million people. Now, we haven't got 1 million racists in this country.
No, I honestly believe that probably a third of the people there were there because of Keir Starmer. The anger of this country, that was a pushback, that was a middle finger to the establishment. With all this China spy thing going on with the government and...
That's fucking worrying.
Yeah, giving the 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭 Island to Mauritius, you know, and paying for the privilege, who is an ally of China, and then wanting a digital ID card linked to everything, your payments, your banks and that. China do that. If me and you were in China and we were Chinese, speaking like this now, against our government, they would turn us off. And how do they turn us off from society? Not by putting us in jail or a prison, by making life impossible. So you go to tap your ID card on the train station in China, you can't get a ticket. No, you're not permitted to travel. You spoke out against the establishment, right? Your benefits might be cut or your pension might be cut because you've said the wrong thing. That is the ultimate goal of this Labour government, to be able to silence people like me and you, not by prison, but by freedoms. And digital ID is a digital prison cell, or it's like a leash around your neck. And that is the dangerous thing. If maybe down the line, Reform wanted to bring something in, you wouldn't maybe be, they're not, by the way, they're against digital ID. But what I'm trying to say is if we had a government that we maybe trusted and we hadn't had COVID a few years ago where all our rights were taken away, it might not look the worst thing. But because governments have shown their true colours over the last few years and shown the power they have over us, not representing us, controlling us, we can't give in to anything that resembles a digital ID.
And it's funny to see lefty anarchists kind of defending that notion. It's like, no. You're an anarchist. You don't like authority, period. That includes the government. You're their number one enemy. Yeah. You'll be the first one locked in home with a digital footprint, not allowed to travel too many places. Like, don't think anyone's exempt from this.
They're so naive, these leftists, mate.
It's painful.
It is painful.
It's painful. I know that you're really, really pro-reform, and there's lots about reform I love and I'm all for.
Yeah.
I always like to look where things can improve. Are reform the answer, and can Nigel Farage be trusted fully?
I'm a realist, okay? So what the next election will be in 3 years or 4 years' time, unless something catastrophic happens, is a choice between Labour and Reform. You want to go and vote for one of these fringe parties that are not even going to get 1 or 2% of the vote and make a statement, that's your choice and your democratic right. But at the end of the day, it is going to be between Labour and Reform. Who are you going to choose? Now, I will say this, and I say this to the Reform MPs that I know and I speak to. No government is your friend. It doesn't matter that I know all the MPs there. Do you think a government's going to be my friend? No. A government is there to govern and represent the people. At the moment, they're controlling, not representing. But they're not your friend, Liam. So do I think it's going to be all sunshine and roses when Reform get in? Because they are going to get in. No. But I think it's on people like me and loads of us on the right to keep Reform on their toes. Now, as I say, I've known Nigel about 6 years. Not well, but Nigel knows me and we speak. I found him always genuine. He's always asked how my family is, how my business is. I think he cares. Does that mean I agree with a lot of the way he's gone about things, maybe recently, maybe with people that you know, and some of the things that have said? No, I don't believe that is right. Do I think maybe he needs to be more hardline on certain things? Yes, I do. But you don't go from a left-wing authoritarian Labour government to suddenly some perfect right-wing government that are going to clamp down on this, and make our life perfect. Not going to happen. You have to go into steps. And the first step, I think, of change is Reform. because they've built the party, they've got the infrastructure, they're going to have the MPs to go, whereas these other parties are not going to be ready for that. I think the other parties are very important to keep reform on their toes. Ben Habib says some great things, says some things I don't agree with. Again, we're all entitled to say that. Rupert Lowe, I think he says some great things. And the movement he's got, these are keeping reform almost in check.
Absolutely.
Or shaping the way that we think reform should go. Anyone that thinks that these other parties have got a chance, away with the fairies.
I'm very grateful for the other parties.
Same.
Not that I'm sort of going to echo what you said just from my perspective, because I get a lot of people on here that are really upset with Nigel. And, you know, we've got Advance UK, UKIP, what is Rupert Lowe's movement? Restore Britain.
That's it, restore. You get confused with reform, restore, all the R's, you know.
Yeah.
And they're popping up everywhere, so it's easy to get confused.
Yeah. Not that Rupert Lowe's movement is a political party, but he could quite easily slip that into a political party. But I'm very glad of all these different political parties, because I think when push comes to shove and they're at the ballot box, they'll know what to do. But these other parties are shining the light on what reform have been missing.
What a lot of working class men are demanding for the future of their kids or their grandkids. And that these parties are an important voice to say this is how a lot of people are feeling. And suddenly we've got, you don't have to agree with, you know, some of the other parties do say things I think, oh, you're saying that, you're never going to be able to do that in government. But what it does, it just highlights true feelings from the ground. You know, on the other side, we've now got a Green Party that is suddenly like, you know, they're rising in numbers. Don't know how, because he's a lunatic. It's my opinion. I don't want to get sued.
Zach Polanski.
As a lunatic
in
politics.
In my humble opinion, a total fucking head case.
Right. So let's remember, he thinks that women can have a penis. If you honestly believe that, you should be nowhere near politics.
Imagine voting for a man that thinks a woman can have a cock.
They want to legalise crack cocaine, heroin, some of the worst drugs ever. They want to legalise. What will that do to this country?
Oh, man.
Right? What will that do? Oh, I'm just going down the shop. I'm going to get a little bit of heroin, you know? Be back in 10 minutes, babe. Right? They're economic things. They want to get rid of landlords. Now, do I believe the way this country has gone with maybe landlords, people being able to buy 50, 60 flats up and just rent them out at higher amounts when there are people waiting for flats? There needs to be some sort of change. But for them to say you won't be able to buy a property and rent it out, you need landlords. They're economic. We would be skint in 3 months under the Greens, and society would be chaos. You just know there's people amongst them Greens that defund the police. They're part of that. You know, they don't think crime happens to them, sort of things. So we've got Greens taking a few percent off of Labour. Then you've got you've got Corbyn and Sultana, which I have labelled the loony party. They're quite extreme in their views. They're more bothered about what goes on in Gaza than what goes on in Britain. That shouldn't be what our politics is about.
No.
So you've got these, they're not even fringe parties, because they are actually polling at quite decent numbers on the left. But the left is fractured, okay? So all we really need is reform not to mess up. Nigel not to say something that alienates millions of people, and we will get a reform government. They've led now, I think, in 160 polls in a row. In some of the polls, they're more than 10% clear of Labour. Labour are only going one way, and that's down, because the Greens are going to take 2 or 3% off them in the next couple of years. Lib Dems, people think are a safe vote. They're full of a few loonies as well.
Is that Ed Davey?
Yeah. He thinks that a woman can have a penis as well.
I cannot
And he does all them clown PR stunts.
He's kind of revolting.
Yeah.
In my opinion, don't sue me.
I called him Frank Spencer of politics.
Yeah.
He wants everyone to laugh at him. Oh, I'm such a nice guy. I don't want someone like that as my prime minister.
No, you're a calamity.
Right? Like I don't want Keir Starmer as being a human rights lawyer. Is probably the worst prime minister choice that we could ever have had. How are you going to deport people when you've got a guy that's stopped deportations for the last 20 years as his job?
You predicted all of this a year ago when you were sat there.
I watched it back the other day, our thing, and I didn't think it would be this bad. I said how bad it would be, but they have exceeded my expectations over the last 15 months to the point where they cannot be this stupid. Most of the things now are collapsing, like the budget that she released earlier in the year, national insurance contributions, killed my pub, killed small businesses trying to hire people. They're educated people. They know what they're doing. It's not a mistake. It looks planned. It looks like they're trying to destruct certain industries and get more money off of people like me and you, you know, and hand it to people on benefits or that have come across the boat illegally. Remember, we've got 1.3 million foreign-born on universal credit. Cost this country $12 billion.
I mean, that should just be a no-brainer. End of that.
And I think Reform have said, 𝐬𝐿 said the other day, benefits will be for British people.
And rightly so.
The welfare state should be. But let's remember, Tony Blair and Gordon Brown made Benefit Britain a choice. It wasn't a choice before that. Benefits and welfare were for the people that really struggled in life, people that we would say they deserve them benefits. Now, there are countless people that choose because they're only slightly worse off than having a job.
Do you think Tony Blair is steering the Starmer ship?
Yeah. I think indirectly Tony Blair is running this country. And that's come from people that know big politicians in America said Tony Blair has a huge influence on what this Labour government is doing. And I think that shows with ID cards.
That was his idea in the first place, wasn't it?
Only 6-7 months ago, the Labour cabinet was saying we have no intention for digital ID. Suddenly, the Tony Blair Institute puts out a report on the positives of it and how it would create a fairer society, stop illegal immigration, and Keir Starmer rolls with it. Proves it, doesn't it, really?
It seems clear to me that that's the case.
It is clear.
And I think people need to look back and remember what Tony Blair is responsible for.
And his wife.
Yeah, they're not good people.
No.
They're really not good people.
This country started self-destructing as soon as he got in.
Yeah, and to his joy as well. That suited his agenda. Just a couple more things. Do you prefer sitting on the panel at GB News or getting in amongst it on the street?
I like speaking to people on the street because they're one of us. And you do get so many different opinions. And that is how you gauge what the country is thinking. But I love being on GB News too, because it winds so many people up, because so many guests on there from the left do not think that a publican that left school at 16 has any right to be speaking to them, especially the one that labelled me far right and was a former Labour MP and still does advise the Labour government in certain things, does all these speeches to big crowds. I love the fact that I get under their skin. And I love the fact when I go on GB News, I'm there an hour and a half early. I'm preparing. I want to learn everything that I'm talking about that night. I've got stats ready to go. They can't beat me.
Do you think one day GB News will allow Tommy Robinson to sit on the panel, even if it's for a debate?
I couldn't speak for the higher-ups. I don't know.
It seems like we're sort of going towards being more accepting of other people's views.
With Tommy, he can't be ignored for much longer. You can get 1 million people on the streets. You've got a draw there. When you're getting invited to other countries to speak in parliaments, or there's going to have to be a time, I think, where the mainstream media and even GB News maybe, again, I can't speak for the people above, have to see what his opinion is on certain things. Elon Musk, probably, apart from Trump, one of the most powerful men in the world. He's talking to Tommy on X daily.
And this is one that I think Tommy's funded by the Jews. Right. Elon Musk just bankrolled his last court case, which is up for trumped up charges on terrorism. I was in the viewing gallery, so I can't say too much. I don't want to put anything in jeopardy. But if there was ever a stitch up, and I actually put this out on X, if anybody still believes the mainstream media, particularly if it's a polarising political figure that speaks against power, if they're ever on trial, to satisfy your own curiosity, go and sit in the viewing gallery. Yeah. You will change your mind just like that. But there is corruption in the UK on a level that if I'd have been told years ago, I'd have thought you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, look, I think the way the media's going now, I've actually done a few things for mainstream media recently, and that's never really been put on the table before, wanting my opinion. And I speak the same as I speak on GB News, and The Sun actually put a few of my clips out on X and on their social media the other day, me talking about Epping. So the shift is happening.
Yeah.
And funny enough, in Epping, though, this is the opposite. I got asked, I think it was Channel 4, someone asked, they want to speak to you. So I spoke to them. I obviously said things they didn't want, and they cut it, never played it. And they put someone else on an interview.
Yeah, it's not all. It's not a fair playing field.
The direction of travel, mainstream media will have to air powerful right-leaning voices or controversial voices, or they're going to die.
So tell my audience where they can find you, because you've started a Substack that I think needs to build, because your writing's very, very good.
I'm writing, yeah. My English teacher will be shocked that I'm writing, because I was never like that at school. But I just felt like a lot of the papers and that, you're reading the same journalists all the time. Then someone showed me this Substack, and it's like, how I can tell your audience it's OnlyFans for writers, but it's free. So I'm not earning no money off of this at the minute. I've got 5,000 people that have put their emails in. As soon as I write an article, which is normally about 1 a.m, it emails you. So in the morning, you'll get an article from me on maybe a story that happened that day or something Starmer's done. But only 500 or 600 words. Take you a couple of minutes to read. And they're opinion pieces. And I'm like we were saying, things getting on you a little bit and can bring you down. I'm getting a lot of my frustration out in my writing.
Good journal for you, isn't it?
Right. And it is like a journal. So about four times a week, I put a little article out. It goes straight to your email. So look, I just want to build that up, and you never know. I've got 5,000 subscribers at the moment. If I can build that up, that's a powerful tool where, again, I can speak for maybe you at home through my writing as well. If you believe what I believe, you're probably going to believe what I write, So it's just another tool out there for that. But on X, I've always been the same, Essex PR. Instagram, which is really blown up, Adam Brooks Media. TikTok, which I'm not, they don't like me on TikTok, because when I normally put my political stuff out there, I go in TikTok jail. It don't normally go very far, but I'm Essex PR UK on there. I'm on YouTube, Adam Brooks Media. Again, look, if anything happens with these and they blow up, great. But I'm not doing it because I want to be some superstar. I'm doing it because enough people have come to me and said, you're saying what I think. Can you keep saying it?
Well, it's not like you're a fair weather activist. You've been doing this now for 10 years that I've seen.
Yeah. And back then, I was shouting into the abyss a lot of the time.
Totally.
There wasn't these people like all these hundreds of thousands agreeing with it. I was shouting into the abyss, especially on immigration 10 years ago, when even your centrists were going, what harm are these people? There's only 10,000 come over this year. Now we're seeing what me and you predicted 10 years ago. And I think people resonate with that because they're thinking, yeah, they was on that.
I remember.
And we stayed quiet.
It must be 10 years ago now. I woke up the day, remember the time when all them ISIS videos were going around? The beheadings, the executions, the putting people in cages, setting them on fire, just harrowing stuff. And ISIS said, we are going to flood Europe with ISIS, and we're going to do it in the form of refugee. And then the next thing we see them storming the country. And I thought, shit, they've actually told us what they're going to do, and we're still not listening. For me, that was that moment where it's like, okay, I need to pay more attention now.
Do you know what? It doesn't even matter if 1 in 1,000 are ISIS.
One too many.
Right? That's a nutter that if he gets a weapon, is going to take people out. Anyone that doesn't think that we haven't got ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi rebels, Al-Qaeda in these hotels up and down the country. Again, might only be a few dozen or a couple of hundred, but let me tell you now, if they decide to go the other way, a lot of people could be in trouble. And the authorities don't know either. And this is the whole point about us pushing back. They have no idea who they are, Liam. Because even he's been found guilty, hasn't he? Madapassa, so we can talk about it now.
Oh, yeah.
The guy that threatened to kill Nigel has got 5 years.
AK-47
AK-47 on his face. Previous videos been seen in amongst tents with guns. He's wanted in Sweden for other offences. What good does that bring this country? People like that. Do you think he's ever going to work in a bank? Do you think he's ever going to do good work in this country? No. He's going to be on benefits for the rest of his life, and he's going to be plotting to do bad things, in my opinion. And there are thousands of them.
All at our expense. So, yeah, I'm glad that piece of shit's gone to
we
jail.
need cases like that. We need cases like that.
He's done us a bit of a favour.
To highlight how extreme some of these people are. Guns. Not being funny. Me and you can handle ourselves. We you've done the doors. I've been on the doors of my places. We can handle ourselves. What could people like us do if there was an uprising of extremists that then managed to get guns in this country? They've just found a cache of weapons in a Calais migrant camp. Bad weapons too. So any on the left that think they can downplay this and say, oh, there might be the odd wrong un that comes across. No, there's lots of wrong uns.
Yeah, and just in case anybody on the left wasn't aware, there's no war in Calais.
No.
I've had this argument on the street. I'm going to take a little bit of a step back from getting in amongst the lefties on the street, the build up to Christmas, just because I can feel myself getting really agitated with them. And they give you the same bullshit answer.
You can't win an argument with an idiot.
I said, if you was in a place of safety, let's just say Calais, because they're all saying women and children, women and children. We know from reports that there's very few women and children. But I said to this guy, if you was in a place of safety, would you put your wife and child on a dinghy and risk their life to send them to another place of safety where the benefits are going to be slightly better?
And let's also remember there's a very small percentage of women and children. That's right. Even though a Labour minister tried to say that the majority were women and children, like we don't see the videos.
Yeah.
Like we don't see what's going into these hotels. That is what Labour are about, lies and trying to gaslight us. But do you know when people die crossing that channel, it's normally women and children. Why? Because the men don't help them. And there are reports that the men actively kick them off. Now, what sort of person could do that to a woman and a child? If I'm on that boat, let's just say I would actually go and get the women and children and say, sit next to me. Right? This is dangerous. There's people on them boats that don't care. Now, if you don't care about a woman and a child next to you on a boat in dangerous seas, you're an evil person. Anyone that can hurt a child is not human because we are programmed to love children. So if you can hurt a child, there's something wrong with your programming.
Yeah, massively.
And you're a danger to everyone.
You're a psychotic, despicable maniac, and you're not welcome here. So the final question, we'll go back to your wheelhouse and what's important. I know it's all important to you, but as an anti-knife crime advocate, someone that's been beating this drum for a long time, I think it's only right that we end your final message to the masses. Anyone considering using a knife, purchasing a knife, be it for protection, for show, for actual use, what would be your message to the masses in regards to knife crime?
We've got a severe problem now where the youth of this country think that they're not just knives, they're almost small swords. Is the thing to be seen with, to get clout. Let me just tell you now, if you're carrying one of them, the odds of you getting killed rise dramatically. Now, we're seeing machete fights on the streets of London. Some of the videos I get sent, you would never think that that is Britain in modern day. And as I said, we need a deterrent. These kids need to know that as soon as you get caught, you're getting 5 years in prison or you're dying on the streets. My message is, as someone that's lost my dad through knife crime, is you're going to ruin your own family's life forever. You're going to ruin your victim's life forever. There is no upside in carrying a knife. As I said, you carry one, it increases your chances of getting done yourself. And it's a failure of government as well, that we've got streets now where we've got school kids carrying knives for their own safety. I want to see more police on the streets. I want to see a government initiative. If we had a government that paid for newspaper adverts showing the danger of knife crime, showing the consequences, you know, magazines, maybe EastEnders doing something like that, rather than trying to throw us propaganda against trans people and whatever, we could take this down a lot. So my simple message is knives down, put the knives down. No one should carry a knife now. You're not going to, the hardened criminals are not going to listen to me, Liam. But
I know.
It's not just the hardened criminals that are carrying the knives. I've got a 16-year-old boy. I hear of people that are carrying knives that I didn't even think were bad kids in the local area. Why are they carrying a knife? It's something that's become trendy and a must for our young kids. And until we break that, we're just going to have murders and knife crime spiralling out of control. And when we've got a London mayor that would rather talk about green emissions and racism and made-up racism, by the way, and ULEZ, rather than people dying on the streets of London, what chance have we got? So for me, it's, you know, my hashtag every now and then I'll do it through my boxing is hashtag knives down. And I just want to get in the mind of people that there's no upside.
Well, you've teed me up nicely for when we do our part 3 in a year's time. And you can remember this, we will start part 3 in about a year's time on our London Mayor 𝐟𝐸𝐫𝐿, and then we'll take that on a journey. But apart from you saying you're not doing God's work, I stand by every single word that you say. I'm a friend, I'm a supporter, I wish you nothing but luck. I know that you've got the best interest at heart for the British public, and I know you want change, and I know you do it all for the right reasons. You'll never have anyone say a bad word about you in my presence, that's for sure. And I'm very grateful you come on again today. I know you're being pulled from pillar to post because you're very popular. So it's an honour to have you on, and I look forward to part 3. And yeah, man, stay safe, brother.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers,
Appreciate
man.
that. Thank you.